Christine. You're watching Sassy Southern Home. Thank you for joining me here. If you're new or you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It helps me to keep bringing you videos, and I hope you're liking what you see so far. Just leave comments anytime you want. I will answer them. Thumbs up's always good, and hit that notification bell so you'll know when I post, and I do post weekly. This week is going to be St. Patrick's Day decor, and I wasn't thinking a lot. At first there was going to be a lot that I was going to like or have for you guys, but my videos turned out over 20 minutes, so I found some really cute things that I hope you guys enjoy and that you'll even try. As always, again, thank you for watching. Let's get crafting. Okay, if you guys have seen a couple of my other videos, you've seen these little, the little round wreaths. I'm not sure if I got that at Dollar Tree or Walmart, but anyhow, this is my last one I've gotten, so I'm going to use it to make a easy little St. Pat's. I've got this 4-leaf clover garland from Dollar Tree, and I got some burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree. Now, I've got the hot glue gun out there, but I did not have to use it for this garland because it's the wired. So all I had to do was just wrap it around. And I did 2 or 3 different times. And I was trying to wrap it around with all this garland, but then I decided it was easier to just cut segments and do it. So I think I did it 2 or 3 times just to get it pretty nice and full. And I wanted some clovers all over. And then I'm going to take the burlap ribbon and just make a simple bow and put on it as well for an easy DIY wreath for St. Pat's Day. And when you get tired, or if you don't want to use it next year for St. Pat's, just take everything off, because the only thing glued on was the bow, and it'll pull off. Take everything off and just use it again for whatever. Now, my bows, if you've watched me before, I just I find the center of the ribbon, then do my ribbon over into itself to make a little bow, and then I use my floral wire with my floral wire cutters there, and that's how I bind it and pinch it real well, twist it real well. And then I did hot glue that onto the wreath. I had to go back a couple times and hot glue. I think I actually had to hot glue the bows down to some of the garland to make it stay, but then there's your simple little wreath. And I think I dovetailed the end of the bow, but anyhow. Okay, so you're going to see these little clovers coming up, but this was a pack of, I think it was 8 I got from Dollar Tree. I was doing some of my other projects, and then I had a couple left over, and I went, I'm going to use that on that bow, because I thought that added something too. And again, you can always pull that bow off, but so I'm just going to hot glue that down. And I didn't change it. There were some that were green and some multicolor, so I just used the green. Now, this is our little St. Pat's gnome, and I'm not into the gnomes. I know a lot of people are. I'm not, but I was really surprised how much I like him, and I think he's cute. This is a flower pot I got from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to spray paint it. 2 coats of white chalk paint. And I did do a little bit on the inside too. I'm not sure if that was necessary, but I didn't want any of the rim. So mainly just get your rim on the inside. So this is going to be his head, of course. So when you get through with that, bye-bye, it's done, yay. You're going to take a Dollar Tree mop head. Now, I went to one Dollar Tree, and the mop head was the white and then a gray. And I was going to use that, but then I went to another Dollar Tree and found the all white. And I also found this bright green table runner is what it was. I was looking for a scarf, but I found the table runner, and that worked. So I found that at Dollar Tree as well. And then I just had a larger wooden bead in my stash. And I didn't paint the wooden bead. I just left it natural. That's going to be his little nose. So I am going to take my little table runner And oh, you do have to have some batten in it, some kind of stuffing in it. And I've just got this leftover from years ago from pillows and stuff. But anyhow, so cut down your tablecloth, measure it, wrap it around the pot. Now you'll cut off the angle after you get it on there. So measure it to fit around your pot. Leave a good bit of it up at the top because you do want it to kind of hang over a little bit. I apologize if you guys can hear my dogs too. They're in here playing, but I'll see if I can't get them to stop in a minute if you hear them. So you're just going to wrap it and then hot glue it. Then after you get around the pot hot glued, just take and kind of angle the top with your scissors. So you're just kind of going to make kind of towards a triangular shape up top. Now, I didn't cut off a whole lot because we're going to tie that. So, but you just don't need all that cloth that's going to be left over. And you're going to see that's a good bit up at top. So once you did all your gluing there, cut your top. And then you're going to take the batten and stuff it down because you want it to have some substance, not just flop over from the table runner. So you can see me stuffing the batten in there. And then I'm going to hot glue that up. And then at the top, I took some either jute twine or sisal rope. I think it was the jute twine. And tucked the undone ends, the where you cut, tuck those in and hot glue those down. And then take the rope and tie it up top. So essentially, it's going to be the top of his little hat. And then it's just going to kind of be floppy. And you'll see that when I get done. You'll see a little bit more what I'm talking about. But see how I've cut it towards the top? You just don't need as much material at the top, obviously, as you do down bottom. And then you might have to adjust your cotton batten or whatever you're using, your polyfill, whatever it may be. Just adjust that however full that you want it, and just make sure that it's pushed all the way to the top of the pot because that's where you're going to want most of the fullness at anyhow. So in other words, I didn't stuff it completely stuffed. And here you can see me just working with it, just kind of making that triangular shape up at the top. And then I did have to go back and like push the batten down. So it was kind of working with it a little bit to get it to shape up to what I want. And then, but once you tie a string around towards the top end of it, once you tie that, then it sits up, a little bit better. So just make sure that your seam, you run your seam as straight as you can. And make sure that's at the middle of the back so that you're going to put the nose in the middle of the front, if that makes any sense. So where the rim is at on the pot was where I glued this table runner. And then the little rim itself, that edge is going to be where his little nose and his beard are going to be at. So now we're going to just cut off the mop. I'm just going to cut as close to the top as I can. And I probably used maybe a little over half of this. So what I'm going to do is make 2 layers. Just kind of visualize out to the sides where his ears are going to be. So go that far out and glue those to the top of that rim, the edge, right up underneath where the table runner was glued. Oh, I did put his nose on first. You'll see his nose there. So put his nose on and do your first layer. Go all the way up to his nose and do it, like I said, till you, like where his ears would be. Then I flipped all that back and did a second layer underneath all of that so that his beard would be full. Then when I did all of his beard, I went back and cut it as much as I could at an even angle on both sides so that his beard is a triangular shape. I just didn't like leaving it straight across. I just want to kind of make it a little bit cuter, like guys like to groom themselves. So I wanted to groom our little gnome. So that's what you're just going to keep working at. Then when I got that done, because I didn't want to see the seam of the where the hat was sitting, I took that burlap ribbon that we used earlier on the wreath. I took some of that and glued it around like that was his band of his hat. Then just to add a little something more, and I had so much of that garland still left over, I decided to make him a little more whimsical and clear that he was a St. Pat's gnome. So I'm using some of this leftover garland from Dollar Tree and just gonna wrap that around and hot glue that down in certain places and just wrap it to however you think it's cute and glue that down, and then our little gnome will be complete. I picked up this large 4-leaf clover from Dollar Tree, and instead of using any more green paint or what's traditional St. Pat's colors, I'm going to use gel stain for the stem and the outer portion, and then I'm going to use white to paint inside where it's raised, and you can see it's raised there. And I used 2 coats of each. You can see I have some rather thick brushes here, and of course that didn't work, so I wanted to get all the way around and up against the clover petals, I guess you call them. So I had to switch out my brushes, and you'll see in a little bit, you'll see I have smaller brushes. But that's all I'm going to do is paint the stem area, the I guess the leaf itself, um, gel stain, and then the inside white. And I thought it was a good idea to put this cardboard down to protect my little table cover there. And when I'm finished up doing and everything's dry, I'm going to use that burlap ribbon again and make a simple bow to go on here as well. So if you like the more natural boho, whatever style, maybe this is a little bit of the farmhouse too, then this will be good to use year after year if you're not a big fan of using all the different colors specific to the holiday. So the ribbon, the little bow, I'm just gonna hot glue on here. And if y'all don't have these little finger protectors for the hot glue, I definitely recommend them. I got a pack of those from Dollar Tree. And then that is our finished project on that one. And that was very simple. Sometimes simple's real good. Sometimes I like to challenge myself on these projects, but sometimes simple just says a whole lot. So these little clovers I got from Dollar Tree. Now I'm thinking it should have been 3 because there's a broken little end at the bottom. But anyhow, it was only 2 when I got it, and that's fine because I only wanted to use one of the clovers. So I'm just going to unhook these, cut the garland, and you're going to have to unwind this garland. It's hooked all around these little knobby things at the end of the little clover. So you're just going to take all that apart, disassemble it, and then I'm going to use my cream colored nautical rope, and I started at the stem and just wrap that around. Now with my nautical rope, because it's so thick, I knew it would be too thick to put around as is. So I'm going to split these sections, so you're going to end up with 3 strands each. So I'm going to split these sections and use one of them to wrap around. And I think it was either the whole thing of nautical rope or maybe even a little bit of another one. And that's what you use in single strands. So start at the stem. I found that was the easiest, and then just wrap around. Hot glue every once in a while, just make sure that it's tight. Then from there, I went out to one of the little petals and wrapped around it. Now when you get to the end, so that you make the little dip, just make sure you do some hot glue on the inside and push it down so that it follows that form. If you just keep wrapping, it looks a little squared off. So you just want to make sure it follows that form, and I just did that with hot glue and tucking it down up in there. So then when you run out of one string, you're just gonna back up, and you could tuck on the inside of this thing because there's a little bit of space from the outside to the back side. So you can tuck that down in if you want. And then just keep wrapping and wrapping and hot gluing. And then this is our finished project. And then here's another one of those little clovers from that pack from Dollar Tree. And again, you could paint it, you could turn it over and stain it, but I just decided to leave it the green, and I'm just going to glue that in the center. Because you're going to have a space in the center, unless you go back and tuck some nautical rope in there, you're going to have a space in the center that's blank anyhow. So I just use this to fill in that little space. And that is that finished project. Now our next project, so I'm going to use what's left over of these little clovers, and I picked me out. I've got a rather large scrapbook pile because back in the day, scrapbooking was a thing, and nobody really does that anymore. So I've got all this scrapbook paper, and I use it for all different projects. So you'll see the scrapbook paper, different ones being used. But anyhow, so I'm just going to find something other. Now I wanted something green, of course, for but I didn't want anything real bright. So I found this paper that I liked, and it had a front and a back side to it, and I liked both of the patterns. So I'm just going to trace out the clovers, cut those out. Now if it's a little big, it doesn't really matter. You just want it to cover good. You can always go back and take a sanding block and take off the edge if it's a little too big, or use some smaller scissors and cut it fine. But I just cut them out and hot glue those on there. Now when you do the hot glue for these, just make sure you do a pretty thin and I did like thin lines because I didn't want a whole lot of bubbles in there, and I wanted it to lay relatively flat. So put your hot glue on it and then press it down real good, and we're going to make a garland out of this. Is what we're going to do. So I think I had 6 of these. So I'm going to do 3 one side of the paper, 3 the other side of the paper, and then you'll see me taking my jute twine and using that as my rope to glue it on. Now my garland, I wasn't intending to just hang it up from my mantle or anything, but if you are going to hang it somewhere where it's not secure, and you'll see what I'm talking about when you see the finished project, because I like taped them down to the surface when I hung it. You might want to do scrapbook paper on both sides of your little clovers. That way, if it turns some, then you'll have something on either side. But again, mine, I just took some Scotch tape, put it to the back of them when I hung it, and actually stuck that to the surface that it was hanging from. But if it was just hanging loose, I would have done both sides. So this is the jute twine, and I just wanted a good bit, so I really didn't measure it, but if you were hanging it in a specific place, then you can certainly measure it out. I did not measure, but I'm just going to leave some on the end for hanging purposes, and then roughly center of each is where I hot glued it. And now I used this a little piece of cardboard kind of as a pattern, a measuring tool, to make sure they were even. So you just want to use something other as your reference point to make sure that they're spaced evenly. So I would just hot glue one, move it over, then get to where my reference point was at. You can see what I'm doing here. It's like kind of just on those sides, kind of like halfway on each side there, and that's where I glued it at. You can see one, I had the cardboard on the side, and others I decided I would put the scrapbook paper on the colorful. Anyhow, it doesn't matter. And this is all of our projects styled so you can see them. So that's our little gnome, and he's so cute. So there's our little clover that we just wrapped with the nautical rope. And of course, nautical rope, that was from Dollar Tree. There's our little gnome. He's so cute. And I'm not a gnome fan. This little clover, I layered it on top of the little basket that I made from the Pottery Barn Dupes video. So you can always layer your project, and you could see how the clovers are kind of stuck to the wall. So, and then of course I layered the wreath on top of a mirror. Thank you for watching.